Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to HCS Source episode number 12. It's been a little while since we've seen your faces, but we're here back once again. My name is Active, and of course, alongside me, I have Tony. Tony, how was your day, man? How was your couple of weeks, I should say?
Yeah, man, my day's been great. I got to play a little bit of Halo on stream. That was really fun. Had to shut down a little bit early because I had some errands that I had to run. Came right back in and said, you know what? I want to watch my comfort streamer play a little bit of Halo. And I clicked on my comfort streamer. His name's a real great guy. Twitch.tv/ActiveE. Clicked on his name and was expecting Halo. I don't know what the hell I was looking at. So my day was going great until you were just playing. I don't even know, but what was that?
I was playing some Overwatch 2. For those of you guys that don't know, Overwatch is it's one of those strategic games, kind of like a mix of like Halo and like League of Legends and a whole bunch of other stuff. It was fun, man. I had a good time. I was trying to rank up, and it just came out yesterday. They've experienced some like DDoS attacks and stuff like that. So this is the first time I haven't played Halo for a full day, like, you know, on stream, and it went kind of well. I guess people kind of enjoyed it, and it was fun. I had a good time, but I think back to the Halo grind we go tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm glad you had a good time, man. Overwatch, I'm not going to lie to you. I had no idea what was going on, but it looked like a lot of fun. It was fun. Lots of colors, and it looked like you were having a good time until one of your teammates did quit out on you and whatnot. Yeah. So, no matter where you go, it follows you around. Yep. I'm really happy to do HCS Source again, guys. It's the first time we're doing this since coming back from Orlando. Tim, I'm going to open up the veil a little bit. I feel like we've hung out every day up into Orlando, and I haven't talked to you at all since. You've been hiding under a freaking rock.
What do you mean?
I've been searching everywhere. I'm like, oh no, that's not it. This one, no. Oh, I found Patrick Starr. Can't find Tim. I don't know why he's hiding from me, guys. We used to be the duo, and I don't know.
I miss you, man. It has been
I miss you too,
after Orlando. For those of you guys that didn't watch, I think Tony and I did a really great. It was a great experience. I think we did a great job, both of us, and overall great experience. But yeah, it's been a little while. I was kind of collecting myself. I guess to be honest, like coming back from Orlando, everything kind of like hit me at once, like reality, like bam, like going from like a really awesome thing, and then all of a sudden everything kind of hit me at once. I was talking about that a little bit on stream, but I've been able to keep up content and stuff like that, and yeah, well, we need to definitely get going and get back together and stuff. And I think this will be the kickstart of that. I definitely miss you lots.
Well, the people want to know the hard-hitting questions. Again, we just came back from Orlando. Today's show is going to be all about Orlando. We're going to take a deep dive and no U-turn. So the hard-hitting questions are going to come in, Tim.
Yeah.
I'm going to come out and ask it. It's on everybody's mind.
Okay.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, you tell me, Tony. You tell me. What is this?
Okay.
It does. It absolutely does. Let me tell you something. So I gotta explain this real quick. Tony and I, we like to do these personal questions here and there, you know, on the, because it's fun, you know, get an opinion on, for instance, pineapple on pizza. I did not plan to make pizza for dinner tonight for the kids, and it was pineapple pizza. It was literally a Hawaiian pizza, and it worked out perfectly.
Not planned.
Absolutely perfect. It is not planned at all. I literally made it before I jumped on stream. Not planned at all. He messaged me about 20 minutes ago and said, we're going to start with this question. You know, I love pineapple on pizza. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but I love it. It is so good. It's the sweet with the ham. It is just amazing. Tony, what about you? I mean, you saw it. Maybe I changed your mind when you looked at it. Did it change you at all, or are you a pineapple on pizza kind of guy?
So I'm going to premise my statement by saying I feel like there's rules to this.
Okay.
So if we're talking about a good New Jersey, New York, you know, a tri-state area slice, I don't put any toppings on it.
Okay.
Just straight cheese. No pepperoni, no sausage,
wow.
No nothing. If you're going to Jersey, New York, maybe a pepperoni, but that's it.
Okay.
You just want to taste the flavor, because it's the best pizza that you ever have in your life. If I'm having that, I'm not putting almost any topping that includes pineapple. However, if you're gonna disgrace your pie hole with Papa John's, Domino's, or Pizza Hut, don't come at me because I'm gonna sit there and put toppings on to try to balance out some of the flavors. Like, dude, if you're getting any kind of franchise pizza, do not look down on anybody putting pineapple on it. You're absolutely ridiculous. In fact, I didn't have it today, but I had a buffalo chicken a buffalo chicken pizza, had a little bit of banana peppers on it as well, and even had some pineapple. So it was sweet, a savory, a little bit of a spice in there. Let me tell you, my taste buds went on a whirlwind. I'm for pineapple on any pizza that isn't elite pizza. If it's not great pizza, it's not elite pizza.
Okay.
At that point, it's a free for all. You can put whatever you want: mushrooms, onions, pineapples, anchovies. You know, whatever, whatever you want.
I've never had a pizza from New York, New Jersey ever. So I don't know what all the hubbub is about. We're gonna have to change that maybe one day. But I've never had. Basically, all I've had is pretty much franchise pizza. I don't think I've ever had like a really good pizza. So we'll have to change that one day. Yeah,
guys, this is the HCS source. Now we're down to the gritty again. We like to break it off with a little bit of icebreaker and whatnot. I'm glad. See, that's why we're the true duo and whatnot. You know, we both are doing the pineapple on the pizza. You're actually eating it right now, dude. We're in the middle of a show and you're eating. This guy does one HCS show and now he's big time. Now he just thinks he's bigger than everybody. Man's just sitting here eating in the middle of a show. I'm so freaking done. This dude now gonna talk about he's a big deal now. HCS source, guys. We just came back from Orlando. Again, we're gonna do a deep dive, and I think if we're gonna do a deep dive, don't choke, buddy. We might as well start in pools. We're gonna go A, B, C, and D. For you guys who are watching on YouTube, you might have a visual representation, but if not, we're gonna walk you through it regardless, so don't worry. Pool A, Optic 4-0, Phase 3-1. Ascend coming out in third place, splitting the difference 2-2. Fnatic coming out 1-3, and the number one team in ANZ, the Chiefs, coming out with the Goose 0-4. On top of that, 0-12, didn't win a single map in pools. Does this surprise you at all, Tim?
Chiefs not winning a single map, no. Fnatic surprised me a little bit. I thought they would perform better, but that being said, if you look at the pool, I really do think that, you know, FaZe Clan and Optic both came out so very strong. Optic was absolutely disgusting. I mean, 12. They won 12 maps, only lost 12-2 in maps, and to me, an 86% win percentage in pools is already disgusting as it is. You know, I really love that Optic won this tournament because it obviously changes things drastically. If they had lost, you know, we're going to talk about this and all that, but obviously they're in this pool, so I have to kind of mention it. If they had lost this tournament, I think, you know, Worlds wouldn't be as exciting as it is now. But
wait, you're saying Optic won the tournament?
What? Yes.
Spoiler alert, bro. Dude,
sorry. It's on our thumbnail. It's on our title. How do you know
people weren't waiting for our show? They didn't watch it at all.
They weren't waiting.
Podcast over, guys.
All right, it's over. But yeah, I mean, I was very impressed, honestly. And you know, as for the other teams, I think that, you know, Fnatic coming through from the open, you know, obviously a very large fight for them to make it through and to be able to, you know, contend a little bit there. They play, you know, 1-3 in pools. I think that team has a little bit of a future, a little bit of a better future than they did before. I think Neighbors kind of one of the big pieces there, and of course Suppressed and Arctic. Ascend, I think that they're very upset with their performance. I think that obviously, you know, placing outside of the top 12, I believe it was, is not what we expected. A lot of talent actually had Ascend as, you know, what, in their wild card at least, or, you know, even Gasket had
him fourth.
Yeah, at fourth. Like, definitely surprised a lot of people with that one. And then Chiefs, of course, a rough showing. They literally didn't win one map, so 0-12 for them. Definitely rough for their for what they wanted. But regardless, I think that pool was very very strong overall. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm agreeing 100%. I mean, from the top down, Fnatic, we're looking better than we expected them to. Let's be honest. This team's been a dumpster fire for quite some time. For them to rebound with Suppressed and Arctic, I thought it was great. Obviously, they didn't come out, you know, beating out Ascend, which we found out they were wide open this tournament. But before pools were done, we didn't know. We thought Ascend were still going to be contending for top 6.
Right.
Like you said before, Ascend, you came over to North America early. You know what I'm saying? Like there was resources that were funneled into this team for you to come in, for you to boot camp, for you to get ready, get used to the time zones, and specifically for this LAN.
Yep.
Now, finishing third place in this pools, not the end of the world. When we talk about bracket play, that's when we're really gonna really expose Ascend a little bit. Hey, let's be honest. It's HCS Source. We're going to be honest about this. We're gonna give praise where praise is due. But Tim, I know Tim's gonna hold me accountable. We're not gonna sugarcoat it. Sugarcoat it. What the hell did I say? Sugarcoat it. We're not gonna sugarcoat it. FaZe, I think it was good for FaZe to be able to beat out Ascend, because it was possible Ascend could have beat him out. But in this pool, it kind of happened what we expected, for them to dominate and look closer to the team that we thought they were, 9-0ing everybody else. Them also taking Optic to game 5, I thought was big, because I think the way Optic were looking, as dominant they were looking, that might have been a 3-1 performance out of Optic.
Yeah.
So for them to take 2 and send it to game 5 and it be as great as a series as it was, I thought was good, which leads us into Pool B, which was the most competitive pool that we had. It was a Pool A was tough, but Pool B was so competitive because you could have made an argument for anybody coming out of this team, including the team that made it out of Open in Oxygen Esports. We're going to talk about them a little bit. Gamers first, 4-0, 12-2 map count, very similar to Optic Gaming. Exactly the same, excuse me. Oxygen splitting the difference 2-2, same for Native Gaming Red, and the same for Quadrant. Eventually, Cincinnati not able to get a single win, very similar to Chiefs, but this went down to tiebreakers.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna paint you guys a little bit of a picture here. So stay with me, Tim. You know where I'm going with this.
Of course.
Oxygen 3-0 Cincinnati, no surprise. They get 0-3 by G1. That was dangerous. They really needed to win against them, or so we thought. They go to game 5 with Native Red, taking 2 off of them, and even going up against Quadrant, they were able to they lost 1-3, but able to take 1 map off of Quadrant. Really important, because now we talk about Native Red 3-0 against Cincinnati. They were able to take G1 to game 5. However, Oxygen take 2 games off of them, and Quadrant take 2 games off of them. So this is important for the tiebreaker. And eventually it was Quadrant that got 0-3 by G1. Quadrant taking Native Red to game 5 and only able to take 1 game off of Oxygen. The reason why I'm going so far into this, because what ended up happening is this came down to losses. And Oxygen Esports lost 1 less game than Native Red and Quadrant. So even though Quadrant was almost guaranteed to finish second place off of Friday, going into Saturday, Oxygen come in out of Open and literally upset the number 2 team in Europe, and Native Red, who are a red hot squad going in, fresh off of that reigniting the honeymoon phase, bringing Manny back. Tim, I've set the stage. The floor is yours. Talk to me about Pool B.
I mean, it was crazy. Obviously, G1, we kind of expected them to perform this way. Coming off that second place placing in the Super, we expected them to perform, especially with the other teams in their pool. But we didn't expect a 3-way tie. That was phenomenal. And it made everything so interesting at the end of the day there. Of course, Oxygen, that 3-1 versus Quadrant there really kind of set them up. And like you said, it was a 1 loss. It was 1 less loss for Oxygen that gave them that second place spot. And of course, for those of you guys that don't know, top 2 advanced to Worlds. They advanced to Worlds pool play. So like very important, 3-1 by them to make sure that it was secured. And of course, against a team like Quadrant, who we thought would secure Worlds, and also we thought would place top 8. We thought, Quadrant and Ascend would be those teams that, place top 8 and were, kind of show up for Europe, but it just didn't happen that way, unfortunately. But for me, I really think that this was kind of a good. It was kind of like one of those stories where you're coming out of open bracket, you're able to kind of contend, a team like Oxygen Esports, but we got to talk about the player that made it all happen. Collect, right? A last minute decision for him to be on the squad. We go to seconds here. I mean, replacing Commonly, of course, but coming out of the squad, he's a very young player, still has a lot of growing to do. I've talked about this time and time again, but Collect came up and he showed up. And honestly, there were talks about, Fnatic picking up Collect, and, apparently the offer was on the table. It was going to happen, but they decided against him because of his LAN experience, which is understandable, right? You can't bring someone to LAN in a tournament as important as this tournament was, as important as Orlando was. It's the last chance qualifier for Worlds. You can't bring someone that you're not confident in, right? So Fnatic ended up going with the more comfortable roster that's got that chemistry, but Oxygen is the one that qualifies for Worlds. Oxygen is the one with Collect that goes to Worlds, and now, there's no question for Collect on LAN. The guy can perform when he needs to. It's that X factor that we talk about time and time again. When your back's up against the wall and you have to perform, there's only certain people that have that gene in them, and Collect is one of those people. So Oxygen, I can't wait to see what they do at Worlds with all this practice that they're going to obviously have. As for Native Gaming Red, I thought they played really well in this tournament. I was very impressed. I didn't think, honestly, I didn't think that that honeymoon stage would be all that big for them coming to Orlando, but they obviously, picked up right where they left off, and it was great to see. Again, it comes to the question, can they get to a point where, maybe next season where they're able to break that barrier that they have. There's a very strong barrier there that Native Game Red, formerly known as KCP, has set up for themselves. Can they break through that to be a better team? And, again, it all comes down to teams like Quadrant. I'm not exactly sure if they can play into pool play at Worlds. I know there's like a qualifying, not a pool play, a qualifying bracket play or something like that. I'm not too sure. You can confirm that, Tony. But
nothing.
So they're out till next season, which is unfortunate. Them and Ascend are both out till next season. So, but really excited for Oxygen. We'll see.
I think Ascend is in the play-in.
The play-in, that's what it's called. The play-in. Okay, gotcha.
I believe Ascend is in the play-in, but I'm not exactly too sure. I'm at to confirm.
It's like top two teams of each region, right? So I think Ascend.
I know Quadrant aren't. I know that for a fact, but I believe Ascend still have a chance.
Okay.
I believe it was Navi and Ascend that were technically top two.
Gotcha.
Quadrant that were left out,
okay.
To my knowledge. I will gain confirmation on that in the comments down below. I'll make sure that once I get confirmation, I put that down there. But I'm like 90% sure.
Awesome. That's pretty much
unpack.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for Group B and for me. I do want to kind of circle back really, really fast because I want to really hammer on this for Group A real quick. You had brought up the point that FaZe took Optic Gaming to a Game 5. I'm honestly going to sit here and tell you that game won Optic the tournament. I know that's really, really weird to say, but them winning that Game 5, being down, I believe it was 11 kills at one point against FaZe, in that like on main stage, is really what I think set up their mentality and their confidence going into the rest of their games, because even Lucid had said, like, they had that type of like structure and discipline to them. When you're on that main stage, like, for those of you guys who've never been on main stage, when you're on that main stage, you have this pressure of the lights, of course, but you also have this thing where mentally, if you're like, let's say you're destroying and you get a double kill or whatever, overextending for that triple is just a normality for you. You do it all the time. It's like second nature. Having that discipline to sit back and, like, you're at a numbers disadvantage. You got to sit back. You've got to make sure to play your life because of an objective coming up or a power up coming up or whatever. It's all timing. It's all situational, of course. But I think that winning that Game 5 set them up for the win in this tournament, in my opinion. So I just want to make sure to kind of point that out because I thought that was like the pivotal Game 5 for them.
No, I love that. I do, and a lot of the criticism that came with Optic Gaming was them being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Them being uncomfortable, them having to come out of their comfort zone, come onto LAN, and look as dominant as they do when they look online. So I can only imagine, like, if I'm Lunchbox, the coach, I'm sitting there like, you just came out on top of that FaZe Game 5.
Right.
If you can do that against a legitimate contender, who the hell was going to stand in your path? So, yeah, I'm be honest, I didn't think about it that way, but yeah, that was huge for them. And also huge for G1 to have a very similar performance.
Yeah.
Like you said, 12-2 map count. Great job for Oxygen coming out from open bracket. I'm gonna start off with the positives. Collect obviously joined the team that very fast played to his play style And I think he really excelled on Oxygen, where not, for example, maybe if you put a collect on a G2 or E United, I'm sure he'll find success, but I don't know if he'll be as comfortable, I'm using that word again, as he was on Oxygen Esports. Oxygen, play fast, and get in your face, throw off your pacing. Very similar to a Complexity, very similar to a Native Red. That's why their games are always so exciting. I'm gonna point out a little negative. Quadrant, you're the number 2 team out of Europe. Navi has something to say about this now. You can't let Oxygen come out of open bracket and bully you. I'm sorry. You can't. And I feel like Quadrant can win that series. If Quadrant are playing their best game, that is a lot more competitive than getting 3-1 by Oxygen, especially, again, a new team that's coming together. Quadrant are good.
Right.
And Quadrant played the game the right way, and they have pop-off potential. Do I have to remind you what Chick and SLG did with their back-to-back overkills on G1 back in Kansas City? Because I will.
Yep.
You got to come out on top. I'm not mad at you for getting 0-3 by G1, but I will say you should have got at least a win off of that. By the way, you beat G1 in a game 5 in Kansas City, by the way. You should have got at least one win on G1. But to come and get 3-1, that's what I'm pissed about. Yeah. I think they should be too. There's rumors about this squad maybe going through a little bit of changes. They just got partnered. There's now there's even bigger expectations on you.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't qualify for Worlds. You just got partnered. Coming into season 2, you better hit the ground freaking running. Screw that. Forget running. You're an F1 racing team. Hit the ground. I don't know, drifting. I don't know, Tim. But I'm saying there's expectations on you, just like there's expectations on Native Red. There's not too long ago we were talking about them being the ultimate dark horse team.
Yeah.
We talked about this pool being wide open. They could have came out to win. In fact, they were the favorites coming out. To some, I still had G1 a little bit ahead of them. Sorry, but I'm thinking the same thing with Native Red. You have to find a way to close out these game 5s. You're a pretty good Slayer team. I've seen you take Slayers off of Optic, Sentinels, and Scrims. I've seen you take Slayers off of good teams.
Yeah.
You got to do it against G1. You got to do it against a stumbling Quadrant. So a great job to Oxygen Esports. Really disappointed with Quadrant and Native Red. I'm gonna be honest. I'm disappointed. I have high expectations for both of these squads, so I'm not being hard on them just to be a jerk. I'm being hard on them because my expectations are high of them.
Yeah.
Going into World, I believe Native Red might be in the play-in. Possibly, I'm not exactly sure. Actually, I don't even know, to be honest with you. But either way, going into season 2, I want to see a hot start out of them. This is where we find out what you're truly made of. It's not about, you coming into to these tournaments, when you have tons of momentum on your side. Now it's about how do you bounce back? How do you recover? Because it's very easy to roll over teams when it's going downhill.
Right.
When you're stopped, how do you pick up that momentum? Good luck to them going forward. Pool C, I know we spent a lot of time on this. Hey, it's a good show. It's going to be good. It's going to be a good one. Sentinels 4-0. G2 3-1, even against Navi, which, by the way, Navi were looking very good. Even took the first game off of Sentinels. We know that personally, Tim.
Yeah,
we got the chance to see that firsthand. TSS came in, were able to take a win off. Team Cruelty, sadly, not able to get a win in map count. It was a 12-1 performance by Sentinels. I don't think anybody was surprised by that. G2 finishing second. I know I wasn't surprised. I will say I was surprised by Navi's performance. I think Navi played absolutely incredible, and I'm really surprised TSS were able to make it out of open because it was a tough open bracket.
Right, it was, yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about Pool C. The floor is yours.
So Sentinels came out really, really strong, obviously. That one game against Navi was, it's kind of what we expected, with Sentinels starting off so slow, but they definitely started to pick up steam, obviously going 12-1. That's a 92% win percentage, which to me is crazy because that's the highest I think in any pool at all. Period.
Yes.
Which is huge. I think that they played phenomenal. But I like even watching their games. I in my head I was just thinking, this is not all Sentinels have. Like there's so much more to this, and they kind of broke that stigma though, starting slow, and showed everyone that they don't start slow. That they do pick it up, and of course their pool isn't. It's not like a crazy pool. Of course, they have G2, who I have to talk about it, by the way. I am very impressed with G2. This is with no practice with Barcode. We, have mentioned this multiple times, but it's got to be said. You have a player who you've just added to the team. He played with you in the Super, and then you come out and you're just this good with a player you haven't practiced with at all. I'm excited to see what this team does at Worlds. Like, they have a month, so Barcode's going to be scrimming for a month with G2, 3 weeks or whatever, and, putting in that work, putting in that time. And what will they be with that time is my question. What kind of team will they become? I think Barcode is the focus, in my opinion. I think he even said it himself. You and I had a conversation with him one of the nights, and he had said, when I'm popping off and when I'm starting to play well, everyone else kind of comes along with me. And I talk about those type of players all the time, and Barcode is one of them. It's the X factor. So very impressed with their performance. Of course, Na'Vi, they ended up clutching it out. They ended up winning. They ended up qualifying for Worlds, which is awesome. They're one of those teams that, in their region weren't really looking like they were very good, but now it's a different type of question you're asking. Like, can they perform now when they get to Worlds? They're obviously one of the underdogs, but they've made it that far. Of course, TSS also qualifying, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, for Worlds as well. So very good on them. That's Ace's new team. They're just kind of Ace he explains them as just a bunch of rejects, teammates that got kicked off previous teams, and they had to come up with something last minute, put it together. And I mean, they ended up performing when necessary. I believe they so they won against J-Lings, but they got 3-0'd versus G1. Either way, I think that this pool is like one of the weaker ones. Besides obviously Sentinels and G2, but I think like Sentinels, obviously that 12-1 explains. That they're looking at the pool, that 12-1 is explained. That was definitely a weaker pool. But we'll see. My big thing is what G2 is going to be able to do. What are they going to be able to do with practice? Practice is no longer going to be like that term that we use. Because a month is a long time, and you can kind of really. It depends on how much work you put in, Tony. Right? We've talked about this before with other teams that we're not going to mention. We're not watching VOD review, and not really taking it very seriously. Like, it all depends on what you do at that time. Practice is one thing. You can get on the game and play 12 hours a day. That's one thing, right? But if you have one guy who plays 12 hours a day, but then you have one guy that plays 3 hours a day, but also does 3 hours of VOD review and also does 3 hours of, team VOD review and his, VOD review of his own gameplay, that player that does the VOD review, that player that puts in that extra work is going to be the one that comes out on top, that performs better, in my opinion. So that's it for Group C, Pool C for me. Team Cruelty, I mean, 0-12, so, unfortunate for them, but it's pretty much expected. But yeah.
I mean, I was happy with everybody's performance from top to bottom. TSS coming out of open bracket was great. Na'Vi looking as good as they did. I was talking about Ascend. I was talking about Quadra. I think we all were. So Na'Vi said, cool, don't put the spotlight on us. Just watch what we do, because we've always been a tough LAN team to deal with.
All right.
Great to them. G2 played lights out. We're going to talk to them more about them in bracket play. And Sentinels in pool play played amazing. Like you said, they got the proverbial monkey off their back of starting off tournament slow, 12-1, and the only game we lost was the first game of the entire tournament.
Right,
there was a chance they could have 13-0'd. Yeah, I mean, I was just really 12-0'd. Great for them. In pool play, great for them. We'll talk about them a little more. Pool D. Cloud9 didn't win. United came out with the 12-2 map count, and man, was it exciting to watch. They 3-1 Cloud9, 3-0'd everyone else. Impressive work. I'm sorry, excuse me. They did lose one. They lost one to J-Lings, actually. United, they lost one to Cloud9, and they lost one game to J-Lings as well.
Interesting.
And then 3-0'd Space Station Gaming and Fallen Esports, which is that squad that was sporting Kratos.
Yep.
Space Station Gaming not having their starting Pelu God, instead having their coach Nugget fill in. Really tough.
Yeah, very tough.
We'll talk about Space Station Gaming a little bit more because obviously in pools, it's really tough to play without your starter. But Jalen's was able to finish out third, Cloud9 finishing out second in pools, and E United finishing first. I thought that was huge. I think E United with Snipe Down, dude. It was so funny that Snipe Down goes from getting called washed to joining E United and looking like a stud, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I couldn't tell if I was watching 08 or 2022 Snipe Down. Man, it was fun to watch. It was great. Ryan, who played really well with a great IGL. I think Rain had a couple pop-off games as well. Suspector, just one of the harder kills in the game with his movement and his creativity. I really enjoyed watching E United. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Cloud9 in bracket play because I thought they were quite impressive in bracket play, but they were the favorites going in. And I think Cloud9 should have won this pool. Sadly, they didn't. Like I said, Jalen's getting a win off SSG. Great. Falling Esports sadly only taking one map in pools. It's tough. It was, it's tough to come out of open.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk a little bit more about SSG going into bracket play as well, even though Tappy Buns is a freaking monster with a shock rifle. Good God, he was disgusting. Do you want to fill in a little bit more? I'm going to cut that short because I know we're running really long on pool play. Do you want to, the floor is yours if you want to talk about Group D.
Yeah, just real quick. United, yes. I think Snipe Down looks phenomenal on that squad, and it all comes down to play style and chemistry, right? He wasn't feeling the chemistry on phase. He didn't like his teammates. I think, again, we talk about that all the time. It's a very important thing to have that mental, that positive mentality. And when you're with players that you don't like, it's really hard to want to win. And that's just where Snipe Down was. He didn't want to win. He didn't want to be on the team. He didn't want to play with them. So, I mean, getting on a United team that has a slower pace of game, he can play comfortably in his play style, but also play comfortably because he likes his teammates. So, right there we have that. Cloud9 starting off really, in my opinion, really slow on Friday. And then, Saturday, getting a little bit better, starting to pick it up a little bit, and then Sunday, my goodness gracious, a completely different squad. I mean, I didn't expect what I saw out of them on Sunday. I think Penguin was the big factor for me. That objective player who came to play, started slaying out of his mind. We talked about Eco picking up that slaying potential, but Penguin really picked it up. I think it at 1.7 in the Slayer KD by Sunday or something like that. Absolutely disgusting from him in bracket play. But yeah, I think Cloud9 really picked it up when necessary. Obviously, we'll talk about their placement later on, but United really good. Space Station Gaming, of course, like you said, I think that Coach did a great job. I thought he kept up, which was great. But that team's been dealing with struggles from day one. We're talking, Raleigh. Space Station has been dealing with struggles. So only continuing on that story, we'll see if they can potentially, have a better turnout there. But again, great showing from everybody. Regardless, I think that Cloud9 really stepped it up towards the end there.
Yeah, I love that you brought up Penguin. I saw a level of consistency and aggression out of Penguin that, dude, it was refreshing to watch. That was the best that we've seen Penguin. Again, like you said, an objective player, but really being a standout slayer on land when his team needed him the most. Well, it was incredible to watch. I was ecstatic to watch it. Almost ecstatic I was to watch Tappy Buzz with that shock rifle, and like you said, he United really coming to play and really playing well. So the teams that officially qualify for Worlds off of pool play and off of bracket play would be Optic, Cloud9, FaZe, Sentinels, E United, G2, G1, Oxygen Esports, Navi, Native Red, Team War, TSS. The teams that are in the play-in try to make it through are going to be Fnatic and Complexity, Ascend, J-Lings, Space Station Gaming, Team Cruelty, Chiefs, and Divine Mind. So I just wanted to let you after pool play, everything was all said and done, those are the teams that are going to be making it to Worlds. Now let's talk a little bit about bracket play. We'll go right through round number one. If there's any matchup that you really want to hone in on, just jump in after we're done. Absolutely. And yeah, let's talk. Let's take it one at a time. Optic Gaming 3-0 Oxygen Esports. Oxygen played absolute lights out in pool play. They even played really well over down and lower bracket, which we'll talk about that a little bit more. Not surprised. Optic Gaming, top team in the world. Yeah. If you want to chime in, you're more than welcome to, but it was a 3-0. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think so.
No, nothing to say there.
Yeah, United going up against G2. I was actually excited to watch that because I feel like G2 are very similar to United. I talk about it all the time. I feel like United do what G2 do, just better.
Yeah.
So I was really curious to see where G2 acts. We've seen their improvement. We've seen them bringing in Barcode, and they played well in lower bracket. They played well in pool play. Sadly, weren't able to get a win against United. But G2 on the way. We'll talk about them a little bit more. Yeah. Did you want to chime in anything on that round 2, or that second match, round 1?
No, not too much to talk about there. I think United played.
I think you're gonna want to talk a little bit about the second half, though. We're gonna start off with Cloud9 3-1ing Sentinels. Let me repeat that. Cloud9 pulling off the 3-1 against Sentinels, the very team that 4-0 swept them in the grand final in Kansas City. Cloud9 3-1ing Sentinels. Tim, I'm just gonna let you go.
I mean, so we didn't expect that, and unfortunately there were predictions that were done, and HCS had asked us to do predictions and such like that, and it really made me very biased, unfortunately, and I have to try and get my mentality. If I'm going to do those predictions still, I have to try and get my mentality around that because, obviously seeing Cloud9 kind of destroy Sentinels, it was just really difficult for my mentality and kind of difficult for me to really kind of look at the game as a whole. But I didn't expect Sentinels to go down that fast. And then we had a talk with Snakebite, aka PJ, amongst the casters. We actually, Tony and I, we had dinner with him, and he was really mentioning, before we had gone out to dinner, he was mentioning how he's not very happy with the fact that you're not playing every single game type or every single map in the game. You're kind of doubling down on a whole bunch of maps and a whole bunch of game types, and it kind of, what happens with that is it doesn't really allow teams that are better at one game type but not good at another game type to kind of even out. So unfortunately, if the it comes down to just that series layout not having enough game types that go in your favor, you just kind of at that point, or playing around your play style, you just kind of at that point have to just do your best, and that's what Snakebite was talking about. And I don't really know where he's coming from with that because I'm not a pro player. But it's interesting to kind of hear his side of things and hear, why he thinks they underperformed. He said at KC, they had the best series layouts possible. Like it was all of their strong game types, all of their strong, maps and such that really kind of gave them that edge and that advantage, and they kind of just ran with it. And we saw that, obviously. But very difficult loss for them. I'm sure it definitely hit the mental a little bit on that one.
Tough loss. It really was. He talked about this not only at our dinner, but he talked about it often on stream since then. And it's tough. I mean, at the end of the day, Sentinels got a bad matchup.
Yeah.
But also Cloud9 stepped up.
Yes, they did.
And did what needed to be done. Cloud9 played incredible. So the last thing I want to do is take anything away from them.
Right.
On the circumstances were there for them to win, but you still have to win, and you still have to do it against Sentinels on land.
Yeah,
What'd you call them? What did you
Sentinels Sunday instead of Championship Sunday? It was Championship Sunday. Yeah, I was so biased. So, I ended up doing some film review with Bravo, I think it was 2 days ago or something, or last week sometime, and listening to it back, man, I'm like, oh, that's unfortunate for Sentinels, and oh crap, Sentinels should have done this, and I'm literally it was bad. But yeah, I mean, a little bit too much bias there for me as a caster, but regardless, Cloud9 definitely did come to play, especially on Saturday and Sunday.
And I was really proud of them. Honestly, I was, and we're gonna talk about them more going forward, but yeah, I think Cloud9 did their thing. Sure, you just biased off a good gameplay. Don't worry. we just want to see great gameplay. That's what we bias for. I'm biased for storylines. Give me a storyline and I'll run with it.
Absolutely.
FaZe able to 3-1 G1. 3-1 G1 kind of talk a little bit. I think that was big for FaZe. I think G1 definitely caught them a little bit off guard in the NA Super. And I think that was really important. FaZe since then has almost looked like a totally different team. Shoot, one player, and they have been a totally different team and looking a lot more like the championship team that we expected to be contending for going into this tournament. And I think this was a huge test for them.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like FaZe have historically struggled against teams that are structured. So like when I think of teams that are structured, I think of the Uniteds, G1 Sentinels, Optics. They're teams that are very disciplined. I think you mentioned you talked a little about Optics discipline earlier. It's tough to deal with, and I feel like FaZe have historically struggled against teams with that kind of discipline. And G1, although young, play well beyond their years. I think we could all agree on that.
Oh, yeah.
The way they approach the game is very methodical, very United. Optic and Sentinels like in their approach, how they play the game, especially going into capture the flag. So I think this win was really important for FaZe. And obviously, G1 ultimate underdogs would have loved to see them go further in the winners bracket, but you're still going up against FaZe and legitimately contending for winning this tournament, where G1 were trying to pull off some major upsets in order to get into that grand finals. I'm sure you want to talk a little about it. So again, floor is yours, Tim. G1 and FaZe.
Yeah, so G1, obviously, I expected them to put up a little bit more of a fight, but this FaZe roster, like we've seen, have really stepped it up with Nick on the squad. And again, chemistry is king. Period. End of story. Nothing else to say. That is the most important thing, in my opinion, on a team is your chemistry. Is your chemistry with the players, your the way you are outside of the game, the way you are in the game. It all adds up to success. And we haven't really seen. If you look at the history, we haven't really seen teams that are like they just hate each other, but they're able to be champions. They just kind of like it doesn't work out. And with Nick as an addition to the roster, FaZe just look phenomenal. This G1 roster, though, they're coming off of a second place placing in the Super. Obviously, they're literally on Cloud 9 after beating Cloud 9 in a Game 5, and a very tight game at that at the very end. It was incredible to watch. But again, our question was, can they kind of do that on LAN as well? I think against the old FaZe roster, they would have been an opposite. It would have been 3-1 G1, obviously. But again, this FaZe roster way too strong, and we see that again in the next bracket as well. I'm sure we'll go over that. Just an incredibly strong roster in this FaZe roster. But I still really love the attitude of G1. You and I got to talk to Kenny Vaccaro a little bit, and I got to talk to him as well. And he's just so passionate about the game. Like, I absolutely love this org, G1, and I can't wait to see, how they prepare for Worlds, how they're able to kind of come back at Worlds and just, have a little bit of a better placing. Of course, G1, 7th through 8th, not the performance they wanted, but regardless, I really do think that this FaZe roster just came to win. And unfortunately, they did not, but they played really well. And we talk about practice. They didn't have a lot of it either. Adding Nick really, right before Orlando, it's a big change, but it ended up working out for them.
Yeah, sadly, the Boo Boo Doo Revenge Tour wasn't able to end the way they wanted to. However, I think G1 did still play well, and we'll probably talk a little more about the elimination brackets. Maybe that's where they shined a bit more. I think we could probably all agree on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously FaZe 3 1 in G1 to move on to winners bracket round 2, where Optic Gaming 3-1 United. It's a tough matchup for United. I'm really proud of them to play the way they did, even able to beat out Cloud 9. But Optic Gaming went in here as the favorites going in, especially after winning that Game 5 against FaZe. Like you said, you even went out on a limb and said that in your opinion that winning that game kind of almost proved to themselves that we can freaking do this. I think it was a great point. Optic Gaming 3-1 United. I can't say I'm super surprised there. Optic Gaming guaranteed to spawn the winners finals. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Not much. No, Optic Gaming came to win. Yeah. They came to win. That was it. The Unite was just in their way.
They had the championship's whites on, baby.
That's right.
Lower bracket, I'm sorry, lower of this winners bracket, FaZe 3-1 over Cloud 9. I think that's a big one.
That's a big win.
obviously, I mean, let's get the elephant out of the room right off the rip. Renegade leaving Cloud9 to join the rumors were he was going to try to join Sentinels, eventually found his place on this FaZe roster. Yeah. And they're actually, I mean, consistently in these smaller tournaments, ESA and other JJ events and other tournaments that come up, FaZe have been able to get the best of Cloud9, but Cloud9 really showing that they are a LAN team, and when you get them on LAN, you have to deal with them, and FaZe dealt with them in that 3-1. I thought that was a big win for them, because the same way you said that, the same way you kind of alluded to Optic Gaming really coming into their own off of that Game 5 win, I think FaZe getting over that Cloud9 hump on LAN was huge. Was huge for their mental, and I think that was a booster saying, you know what, hey, we belong here. We can win this tournament. There's a reason why people have us in championship contention, and them getting that win was huge going into the winners finals, and obviously from there we'll talk about that a little bit more, but still I think that was a big win for FaZe over Cloud9.
Yeah, I think we talk about the intangibles all the time. I think that's one of the big intangibles right there is Renegade. You know, as good as Cloud9 is on LAN, I think all of FaZe is also very good on LAN, and you know, they proved it there. And Renegade, I think he's one of those players that you know, he's got that drive, and we had an interview with him after the Grunt Classic, and he talked about, you know, I don't care. I just want to win. I want to win. That's it. End of story. No more to say. And that's the kind of attitude of a that's the attitude of a champion. And I think Renegade, you know, with a little more time on this roster, I think FaZe is gonna, like I said before, and you know, obviously this roster has changed, but I did say that FaZe would contend for Worlds, like winning Worlds, and I think that with some practice, there's a potential of that. We'll see. But regardless, this was a big win for Renegade. I think it also, I was expecting it to kind of just spill over into this winners finals against Optic Gaming, but we'll talk about that. It didn't really necessarily happen that way. This is just one of those stories where, again, you're fighting for something more than just the win, and FaZe pulled out.
Well, so we're going to talk about a little bit. It's winners finals. Optic 3-0 over FaZe. Tim.
Yeah, I mean,
what did you want to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, just that, like, I expected that momentum to kind of carry over, but it's just a battle of the Titans at that point. Optic was just there to win the tournament, period. That was what was on their mind. I truly do think, and I can't wait for these you know, documentaries to come out. You know, all of these, like, top orgs, they have these documentaries that come out and explain a lot of the in-depth stuff, and you can kind of see behind the scenes. I swear to you, I will be very happy if I hear them say what I said, because I didn't talk to any of the team. I didn't ask them about, you know, that Game 5 win over FaZe, but you could just see a different Optic Gaming. Like, look at, like, you can't see the winners bracket in front of you right now, but I mean, winners bracket round 1 3-0, 3-1 against United, and then a 3-0 against FaZe. I mean, like, these guys, that was a big turning point for them, because again, they were down in the game. It is very easy to be down in the game, uncomfortable, like you had said, Tony. Again, I want to touch on that. Uncomfortable, and, you know, being uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. And, you know, they were able to pull back. They were able to, you know, be the Optic we've seen online in their comfortable space, in their little, you know, facility. It's a huge facility. I shouldn't say little. In their facility, you know, we saw that on LAN. And the fact that they're able to break that barrier, I mean, Optic Gaming, if they continue on that mentality and they keep pressing on that, like Lucid said in the interviews, like Lucid had said, you know, we are being disciplined, and he was really happy with their performance. If they can continue that, man, we have a very big Worlds in our hands, because we have Optic, we have FaZe who are fighting for that, we have Sentinels obviously fighting for that, Cloud9. Regardless, though, I think Optic Gaming was on a tear, and the momentum of Renegade and FaZe winning against Cloud9, they just couldn't touch it. Again, it's Battle of the Titans at that point. Like, Optic Gaming just played phenomenal. They really did.
They really did. And like you said, it was about getting comfortable being uncomfortable, getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And Optic Gaming got into the zone here on LAN, and now I would say that the favors going into Worlds before we get there. If it's okay with you, for the sake of time, I'm gonna rapid fire through the elimination bracket all the way to about losers round 5. If there's any matchup you want to talk deeper about, just cut me off, and I will give you the floor. But I'm gonna try to rapid fire through just for the sake of time. Elimination round 1, Proton Gaming over 3-2 over Chiefs. Proton Gaming Common, the landing place for Common after getting dropped from Oxygen Esports, literally almost felt like seconds of going into this event. Big win for them. War 3-0 over Falling Esports. Love Kratos sadly doesn't make it very far in the tournament. Complexity 3 over Cruelty. Anime Demons 3 over Sentanegra. Going into round 2, Proton Gaming also going to game 5 against SSG, but SSG getting the win. War 3-2 over Quadrant. Quadrant, one of the favorites going into this tournament to make it into the top 12. They get taken down by Team War in a game 5. Yeah. Big for Team War. We're going to talk more about that going to next round. Fnatic 3-1 over Complexity. Surprise, their Complexity have been red hot. We've been wanting them to perform on land, very similar to Optic, obviously not with the same expectations. Fnatic coming out of nowhere, getting the 3-1, good for them. TSS 3 over Anime Demons. A lot of the TSS members were actually familiar with Anime Demons. They played with them. 3-0, big win for TSS. Gotta love Ace. Can't have a World's Championship without Ace. Come on now. Navi 3-0 over SSG. Ascend getting 1-3 by War. So back to back, Team War taking down the top teams out of Europe, and that's where things got exciting. The crowd was on their side. We kind of all became Team War fans at Orlando. Native Red 3 over Fnatic. Big win for Native Red as they tried to make a run to the elimination bracket. TSS 3 over J Lings. Going into lose bracket round 4, if you want to stop me at any point in time. Oxygen 3-2 over Navi. No, I love Navi, but Oxygen, come on, man. Collect is nasty. Yeah. Really excited to see if they match up again. That would be fun. G2 3-0 over War. At one point, Envor and Rami were filling in for G2. We talk about Team War as like almost the leftovers, you know. Mm-hmm. Tony 2-turn formerly of G1, Envor formerly of Fnatic, Rami formerly of every team in the league, it seems like, and Hysteria formerly of Complexity. They were to come together. Sadly, G2 stopped their run in the 3-0 fashion. Sentinels 3 over Native Red. Would have loved to see Native Red pull off the upset or at least get a win on Sentinels. You know, I love the Native Red. I love being an underdog story. Sadly, come on, it's Sentinels. Let's be real. G1 3-0 over TSS. Now we're going to lose bracket round number 5. Now that we kind of rapid fired off of that. Oxygen able to take G2 to game 5. Not able to get the win. G2 coming out in game 5 during the right to play against Cloud9 for their tournament lives. Anything you want to say about that matchup?
I didn't get to watch it. I think we were casting another matchup at that point, so I didn't get to really watch it too much. But I mean, going to a game 5, G2 coming out on top. We talked about Barcode before. I just kind of harp on that one. I more want to talk about the next one that you're gonna mention.
Okay,
here.
Fair. It's all right. Sentinels game 5 against G1. G1 eating away at a crazy lead and a game 5 trying to upset Sentinels. Would have been the lowest place for Sentinels in Halo Infinite, possibly in Halo history. Would have felt like if they would have been knocked out here. G1 went at Sentinels, gave it all they got. Tim, you said you got something to say. Go ahead.
This was incredible. Okay, this was a 50-49 game. Live Fire Slayer. And we talked about it at the dinner table with Snakebite. He literally made the play, and of course he brushes it off and says, "No, it was it was Lethal. Lethal made the play. Blah blah blah." But he doesn't give himself enough credit. He literally called the play to win the game. He was peak shooting on pillars, when three members of G2 or G1, I'm sorry, were looking at him. He was peak shooting, putting damage into every single one of them. He calls for Frosty to come out from bottom center to help him on the push and calls out 3 weak players and stays alive that entire time to the point where Lethal and Frosty are able to make a play. Lethal dodged like 2 spike grenades somehow or something. I forgot exactly what it was. I believe he dodged 2 spike grenades, stayed alive. It was I want to go through this one day and kind of break this thing down because it was such an incredible play. We're talking about, I believe Sentinels were down 47-49, I think. I'm not exactly sure. 48-49. Regardless, they come back, 1 play call. And again, I got to talk real quick about the double IGL on the side of Sentinels. I don't like it. I understand that Frosty is a very knowledgeable player. I understand that he knows he knows the plays to make and when to make them, and I understand that they're kind of splitting the IGL role, but I think once again that this call gives Snakebite that confidence. Like, he made the call, And I love his play calling. I think his play calling is phenomenal. He's I think he's one of the smartest minds in Halo, in my opinion. It just goes to show it right here. I mean, that's a huge win. I mean, G1 coming off of dude, it was such a crazy series, but like them, such a heartbreaking loss. You literally have in your hands the chance to knock down a dynasty in their worst placing ever. And, it's by 1 kill. Absolutely incredible. But anyway.
You said you don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's maybe, and it sounds weird, but maybe it's a strength of theirs. One thing that we got the chance to sit down and talk to Roar One, and he talked about everyone on that team able to fill any role.
Yeah.
Anyone can step up as a Slayer. Anyone can step up as an objective player. Everyone can be responsible for holding down those rotations. Like, everyone is able to step up in any given role, and that includes an IGL role. So, I mean, most of the time it's Snakebite, but for him and the rest of the team to have the trust in anybody to make a play call, sometimes it's Frost stepping up, but who knows? Maybe Lethal's in charge of controlling rotation, controlling ball movement and whatnot. If he makes a play call, maybe it's that faith in each other.
Maybe, yeah. I mean,
to fill in that role. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
No, I agree with you. I think that as long as there's no headbutting, I think it's fine. I think the minute something occurs that goes wrong or whatever, then maybe it starts to hurt the chemistry of the team. But you're right. I think that this is a dynasty Sentinels are a dynasty team for a reason. Like these guys have won so many tournaments, been in this situation so many times. They have that level of chemistry that no other team, in my opinion, has. I just would hope that there's no headbutting there, and I don't know if there is or not. I don't know if Snakebite makes a bad call, and Frosty's like, "Why would you make that call?" And then all of a sudden, I talked about this at the beginning of the season or whatever, or it was like mid-season or something. That Snakebite wasn't IGLing at all, and Frosty was taking the IGL role, and Snakebite makes one call, and they win the game because of that call, and Frosty goes to him and says, "Hey, that was a great call. I really appreciate you making that call." And Snakebite said, "I appreciate you listening to me." Like that's the type of stuff. If you're saying that, there, the headbutting, is happening at some point, right? But they won that tournament, and they looked horrible up until that moment. And so I think there's a level of confidence that you get from making the right play call and being able to be that play caller. As long as they're not butting heads, then freaking great. I mean, you have 3, 4 big IQs on the team. Take it, and run with it.
I think we are gonna go a little bit over on time here, but I think the content is good. For the sake of time, Dom, I'm gonna give you the floor on this one. Sentinels able to go game 5 on United. Great for United. Take them game 5. Sentinels come out with the win. Floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make it quick. I mean, going game 5 against United, that's not really what Sentinels had expected. So, I think that kind of set them up for failure against Cloud9. I don't think they wanted to lose 2 maps.
Did they have a reverse sweep? Wait, hold on. Didn't United win the first 2 games?
Yes, they did. But, that's the thing. Yes. Okay. So you can get the momentum going from that reverse sweep. I think the reverse sweep is huge, but losing those 2 games and we're talking a winners round 2. I mean, to me, I just, that's not Sentinels. Sentinels don't lose to United. I don't think that, in my opinion, I think it was a mixture to do with Sentinels, losing those 2 games, which you're right. They were in the beginning. They did a reverse sweep afterwards. We didn't get to watch it, but we heard it. We heard the crowd, and then going against a hot Cloud9, you know what I mean? Who just 3-0 G2. I just feel like there's a little bit of a discrepancy there. 3-0ing G2 and then 3-0ing Sen in the next one. I feel like Cloud9 really started to pick a stride, and if Sen had 3-0'd United, I think they would have more confidence going into this next one. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows?
Well, Tim, you stole my thunder. Because as you said, losers bracket round number 7. I think this is the elimination semifinals. Cloud9 able to 3-0 Sentinels again. 3-1 in the winners bracket. 3-0, 6-1 them between winners and losers. Again, the very team that 4-0'd them in grand finals in Kansas City. That's Cloud9 able to beat Sentinels not 1 but 2 times and do it in dominant fashion. Cloud9 looked absolutely incredible in the lower bracket of Championship Sunday. Anything you want to say about C9?
I think Bound really popped off. I think he, we said it during our cast. I think there is no longer Bound replacing Renegade or Bound trying to fill Renegade's shoes. I think he proved right there and then that he is the shoe. Like, he doesn't need to fill anyone's shoes. He's the guy. He's Bound. He's not to be compared with any other player, and he proved it there. I mean, I think he had a subpar performance up until that point, but I think at that point right there, he really nailed himself as, an extremely good player, rookie of the year as well. There's a reason for it. The guy came on LAN in Raleigh, first LAN event. Now look at him now. Like, he's playing phenomenal, and he started to really hit his stride towards the end there. And I think that, Cloud9 going to the losers bracket was good for them because it gave them more reps, in the tournament LAN setting going into Worlds as well. But anyway, that's another story for another day.
Going into winners bracket, I'm sorry, it should be elimination bracket finals. The winner of this makes it to grand finals. We saw FaZe and Cloud9 and then a 3-1 result in the winners bracket, and we saw another 3-1 result, almost exactly the same, except
opposite.
It wasn't FaZe that won. It was Cloud9 that won. Tim, talk to me a little bit about Cloud9 versus FaZe.
I am assuming, again, I don't know. Like, this is why the documentaries are so good. I just ended up watching G1's. It came out 12 days ago. It was about the Super. Really cool documentary. But, like, you can kind of see inside the minds of these players. If I'm here, I'm assuming that, losing 3-0 to Optic was very painful for this FaZe roster. And then coming off of, again, a red-hot C9. They did get one game off of them, but we're talking about a FaZe team that just beat them in winners round 2, 3-1. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like, this is what momentum does. This is what confidence gives you. This is what that, confident mental gives you, is it gives you this ability to kind of, take this game and just ride off of just, 3-0 against G2, a 3-0 against Sentinels. Like you said, 4-0 Sentinels in Kansas City versus Cloud9, and they come and 3-0 them. Like, that's huge. So I don't think as much FaZe could do there. I mean, unfortunately, they didn't bring their A game, and it is what it is. But C9, just like I said, Sunday came out real hot. No one could stop them on Sunday. Well, except for,
I was gonna say that's a good segue into nobody can stop Cloud9 on Championship Sunday except for the first time them meeting in the tournament. Optic Gaming going up against Cloud9, the green wall, the defense going up against Cloud9's ultimate offense, and it was Optic Gaming that 4-1 Cloud9 to become, for your first time in HCS Halo Infinite, your champions. They've done it on LAN. They go back-to-back in major tournaments. They also did an NA Super as well. And leading into Worlds, Optic Gaming have that. What's that word you always use? That special word, that valuable word, what is it? Momentum.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going into Worlds, Optic Gaming are your champions.
I mean, this was obviously a huge win for them. I think I truly think that, again, they talked about it in the post-game interview. I think Lucid talked about it. That discipline that they were able to have. Like, and again, a discipline doesn't just ride through the winners bracket at all. It also goes into this grand finals. They lost a game against Cloud9, and normally, if you see Optic losing a game against somebody, they start to crumble, start to get checked, they start to play poorly, make bad decisions, whatever. They were able to take that and just, let it go and move on. This is huge for them. If they can continue on, their regimen, they're working on being more disciplined. They're working on making sure that they don't miss position or make mistakes. They're working on calming down in uncomfortable situations. They win Worlds. There's no shot that anyone else, they're a really good team for obviously. But this was, for me as well, this was my kind of turning point for they're no longer an online team. They're no longer a team that just does well online. And they did this to themselves. Like, they were able to prove this against, whatever odds that they were up against. They were able to prove that, on LAN, they can have that discipline and they can play better and they can close it out. And that's exactly what they did. So congratulations to Optic Gaming. Can't wait to see what they kind of bring to Worlds. I'm sure the thing about this is when you're the number one team, there's only one way to go. Back down. There's every single team shooting for you right now, which means every single team is watching VOD review, which means every single team is going to be watching your grand finals, watching your setups, watching, your starting strat, watching everything, watching the little nuances that you have going. Like every team is watching your stuff. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to them to continue to change the game, to continue to change the meta however they can and make it happen. It's going to be tough.
Like you said, Optic Gaming no longer can be called an online team, as they got their LAN championship and look just as dominant as they have online. Finally able to do it here, bullying and beating up everyone in this tournament, just like I'm going to do to CLNCJD94 if you come at my duo ever like that again. Don't get hurt out here, okay? That's my duo. Don't be coming at him. Big win for Optic Gaming. Guys, this was your HCS source. We back, baby. I hope we're gonna be back on a weekly basis.
Yes.
Tim, I had a good time.
Yes.
I hope you guys did too. We're gonna make sure we put this on YouTube, Spotify, and everywhere else. Apple Podcast as well.
Yep.
Everywhere else that you guys are enjoying your podcast. Make sure that our beautiful faces, or at least voices, are gonna be involved in some way, somehow. Tim, why don't you tell the people at home where they can find you?
I stream every single weekday, twitch.tv/ActiveE, and then of course I do YouTube content as well, youtube.com/ActiveTV. 2 E's and TV, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I can't wait for this season, and then of course the next season to start up as well. HCS season 2. I'm excited for the future, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens.
And guys, Why Not Be Reckless, aka Wanna Be Casting. I do YouTube and Twitch content as well. Not as good as Tim, but I'm trying out here. Right? Give me a little bit of a break. I'm trying out here. It's been an honor doing these podcasts with you. Sorry we had a little bit of a break going into Orlando. We're gonna be back to doing this, and yeah, guys, catch you later. Peace out.
Later.